The iPhone X after 2 months. Do I still love it? Have I come to hate it? Let's find out after this super cool intro. Hey folks, my name is Jason, sometimes known as the JTL. This is Painfully Honest Tech. Tech so honest, it hurts! If this is your first time here or you're recently here and haven't subscribed yet, please think about doing that, because then you can come back and see more of my tech-related content and how-tos and reviews and all those things. Commercial over. The iPhone X is a great phone in many ways. Apple really did kind of push themselves out of their comfort zone more than any time in the recent past to give us a device that went beyond a couple of new colors and a better camera and call it good. They went buttonless. Well, they went home buttonless and changed the entire way users interacted with swiping and face IDing and all kinds of stuff like that. It was pretty bold stuff. Even if there were a few hiccups along the way and iOS is still sometimes a little bit buggy, the design of the phone is beautiful. It recalls iPhone and iPod designs of the past while planting itself decidedly in the future. It's a glass and aluminum sandwich that's all swipey and buttery smooth. I made a crap ton of videos about the iPhone X. I praised it, but I did try and look at its shortcomings as well. I ranked it as my number 2 phone of the year, just below the Note 8, because the Note 8 to me was a little bit more of that versatile phone that would be practical for a lot of people in a lot of different ways, but really, it was sort of a phone 1A and phone 1B kind of situation. If you want the latest and greatest from Apple, you go with the X. You want Android? At its most feature-rich, the Note 8 is probably the phone that can't be beat. But a couple of weeks before the holiday season, I sold my iPhone X, and I returned my Note 8. What is this madness? There were several factors that led to this decision, and I'm going to go through them. As phone season kind of started to die down after Thanksgiving, I started thinking about what might make the perfect smartphone. If you've watched phone videos by other tech YouTubers, you've seen some version of this list. For me, it goes in this order. 5. Processor. Smartphone processors have been really good for several years now, and while each year the processors get faster, flagship phones that came out just a couple of years ago can now still do just about everything you want them to do without any real noticeable difference. Yeah, the fingerprint scanner on one phone might be a little bit slower than on the other newer phone or something like that, but at the end of the day, as long as your phone is doing all the basic stuff, most people are good. Number 4, screen. Yes. Oh yes, this was the year of the OLED wars, and OLED screens are amazing. I have a 65-inch LG OLED B7 that I got for the family as a Christmas present, and that thing is absolutely 100% the best screen I have ever seen in my entire life. Let me know down in the comments if you'd like to see a review. But on a smartphone, I feel like the screen is just way too small, even on bigger phones, to do OLED real justice. And don't get me started with the Pixel 2 XL and the LG V30 and the dreaded blue shift of death. It bothered me a lot on both of those phones to the point where I just couldn't deal with it. Maybe other people didn't see it as much or whatever, but it really bothered me. Give me a screen that reproduces color as close to natural color gamut as I can get, and I'm good. 3. Build. For me, 2017 was all about form over function. There were some really good-looking phones out there, but nearly every flagship phone was made of glass and glass with something in the middle. And that makes these phones really fragile, iPhone X included. In fact, my iPhone X was scratched within hours of getting it, and it really pissed me off. Even if it was my fault. Okay, it was my fault, but I'm still mad about it. Look back a few years and see what phones were made of then. Back in the old days, like 2015, they were all made out of pretty much solid, durable materials that really looked good, too. The glass phones of the past couple of years are very nice to look at, but then you have to encase it in something made out of a material that the phone probably should have been constructed of in the first place. Give me a phone that sits well in a hand, and I'm not afraid to carry around like it's a Fabergé egg, and that's the phone for me. Battery life. Battery anxiety is like a bad thing for me. I have anxiety in general, and battery anxiety, I hate peeping at the battery percentage, sweating when I'm down to like 30% by the end of the business day. I want to be at 30% when I go to bed. Larger phones are better about this, but not always. Manufacturers often make battery size decisions based on design, not function. Again, here we are, form and function. Number 1, solid audio and media performance. Audio is one of the most important features of a phone for me. I have a video coming up where I'm going to compare the sound of a headphone jack with one of Apple's infamous freeze-prone dongles. I'm going to see exactly how different the sound is, and I know it's different. Which is better? Well, we'll see. The aspect ratio of many of this year's phones was such that if you wanted to watch a video in full screen, you had to chop off a bunch of the picture. And if you wanted the whole picture, then you had to watch on what was the equivalent of a much smaller phone. To me, this is stupid. And yet another example of form over function. So, going down this list, you can probably see that the iPhone X ranks pretty well on some of the points, but piss poor in others. It has a great screen that chops off your media and forces you to watch it on a screen the size of the iPhone 8. Its processor is amazing, faster than some of the laptops that Apple sells, but honestly, for the tasks most phones perform, 11,000, 10,000 multi-core score is just way overkill. The build is beautiful, but it's fragile as hell, to the point of feeling like, it feels like Apple's kind of punking us and sort of laughing behind our backs. $579 to replace the broken back? Hilarious! The battery life was better on the iPhone X than I expected it to be. The iPhone X has dual speakers, which is great, and more than a lot of what other phones offers. I'm looking at you, Note 8. They removed the headphone jack though. I've said it many times. The DNA of the iPhone is the iPod. Steve Jobs was a music lover who cared really a lot, really deeply about great sound, and would have never allowed the headphone jack to be removed for whatever BS reason the bean counters at Apple came up with. They wanted to sell more headphones after they spent $3 billion on Beats. And what better way to sell more headphones than to create a need where one didn't exist before? Oh yeah, remove the headphone jack so everybody has to buy new stuff. Think about this for a second. Apple still has a headphone jack on every other device they sell where having a headphone jack makes sense. From the iPad, all the laptops, all the way up to the desktop computers, all the way up to the iMac Pro. Where's the urgency in removing those jacks? There isn't any. It's a scam. So the more I thought about it, the more I saw that having the iPhone X was nice, it was luxurious, it was pretty powerful, but there were also too many negatives. And there was one final problem that bothered me more and more, especially as the holidays approached. The price. I had the 256 gigabyte model, which rings in at $1,149. That's $1,049 plus tax. You can buy a decently spec'd 21-inch iMac for that money. It felt stupid to me at that point to have sunk so much money into a phone, and since it was so fragile, I was thinking I should buy Apple Care, another $250. The Note 8 was just as bad. At a certain point, I had over $2,000 tied up in smartphones. And as I started to, get past the new car phase, I started to think about what I could really do with that money, especially for the holidays. Like buy my family a 65-inch OLED TV that would benefit all of us, and really has since I brought it into the house. So I sold the iPhone X. I took about $100 loss. Not bad. I returned the Note 8, paid the restocking fee. And in their place, I got the iPhone 6s Plus. Look back at my list. The iPhone 6s Plus ticks nearly all the boxes that are important to me, not the least of which is the headphone jack. This is what I have hanging at my bedside. A little cheap FiO DAC and my HD 600s from Sennheiser. I'll tell you this is pushing up on $400 worth of audio goodness, and there is no freaking way I'm gonna plug this into a $7 dongle. And honestly, even though this isn't the best amp in the world, I listened to the new mix of Beatles' Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band, and I heard that record in a way that I had never heard it before, and that was iPhone 6s Plus plugged into amp, headphones. I think that most people who don't care about the headphone jack being gone are not people who have really experienced quality audio in their lives. The iPhone 6s Plus is not slow. And for those of you wondering, the iOS throttling, slow down gate, whatever it is, only affects older phones with degraded batteries, not brand new ones. I get exactly the same benchmark scores I'm supposed to, and while it's not as fast as the newest phones, in everyday use, it's really hard to notice any difference at all. The screen still looks great. The battery life is great. The build is definitely more solid than most current flagships, and since it's not the fanciest, latest, greatest, whatever, I don't really give a crap if I scratch it up or anything like that. I got a spec case and throw that on there when I feel like it. Otherwise, I ride it bareback. So, going back using my 5 things that were really important to me. Once the new car smell wore off the iPhone X, it really became clear that something like the iPhone 6s Plus is priced right, offers me most of what I want most in a phone, and since I review phones all the time, it makes sense to have one solid phone that I can just come back to. I'll look at reviewing new phones this coming year like exotic vacations. And then I'll come back to my iPhone 6s, my comfortable, practical home where I can snuggle up and just enjoy what it offers me that new phones have left behind. Let me know what you think. Is there a smartphone out there that meets all of your needs better than the newest phones that have come out recently? Tell me down in the comments. I really want to know what your thoughts are. Thanks so much for being here. I really do appreciate it. My name's Jason, sometimes known as the JTL. This is Painfully Honest Tech. Tech so honest it hurts. Until the next time, I'm out.